Whenever I listen to NPR, I usually start an internal stopwatch in my mind. I just want to see how long it takes before NPR shoehorns black victimization and white racism into any story that they're doing. It's amazing how often it happens. I'm usually, after my stopwatch hits 15 seconds, I'm usually a little bit surprised. But they really have a way of injecting white racism and black victimization into so many places where it really doesn't fit that well. But when you watch other media, they're equally ingenious about ignoring black criminality, black on white crime, wildly out of proportion all over the country. They're actually pretty ingenious at ignoring it when it's like staring you right in the face. I was thinking of that this morning when I saw the story out of Chicago about bus drivers in Chicago under attack, under constant violent attack from their passengers. Well, this is something we've been talking about on this channel for a very long time. We've done an interview with bus drivers. I know a lot of bus drivers, and every day for a bus driver is just one constant struggle with black people, challenging them, threatening them, often getting violent with them, often getting violent with passengers. Many of the time, a bus driver will pull up to a bus stop. There'll be a little old lady sitting there with a bag of groceries. There's a bunch of the fellas surrounding her, taunting her, mocking her, threatening her, assaulting her, stealing her groceries from her.
For it to get away from the bullets flying right into that bus. It's good to have you with us here at 6. I'm Thomas Drayton. I tell you, I got chills when I saw that video. In fact, prosecutors showed that very video in court today during a preliminary hearing for the people charged in that case. Now, it happened on June 18th as the bus headed north on 7th Street. Investigators say a young mother on board that bus took offense when another passenger criticized her for spanking her son. He threatened to turn her in for child abuse. Our Claudia Gomez joining us now. She picks up the story from there. Claudia.
Well, Thomas, investigators say that mother wanted to get revenge. So they say she used her cell phone while she was still on the bus to call her accomplices. They met her at the next stop where two men opened fire on the bus. Unbelievably, no one was injured, which is why the defendants say they should not be charged with assault.
You can't hear what Penny Chapman is saying as she gets off the SEPTA bus with her little boy. So a witness told a judge Thursday what he heard, quote, shoot the N-word. Investigators say her son's uncle is holding the door open for her. She points out the man on the bus who offended her. Seconds later, two brothers carrying a large assault rifle and a handgun fired directly into the bus.
All of the shots that we can see were through the passenger compartment. They weren't at the tires. They weren't necessarily at the roof. They were all through the passenger compartment.
Prosecutors say that means the gunmen were taking aim at least at one passenger. They clearly showed absolutely no regard for the 4-year-old boy and his mother sitting nearby, or for the elderly woman who was too stunned to react for a moment. Finally, she ducks down just as a bullet flies right over her head, and yet the defense tried to play down what happened.
They tried to argue that no one was hit, and so therefore it wasn't necessarily an assault.
The quick-thinking bus driver, who's an Army vet, floored the gas pedal and drove straight to the hospital. It almost seems like a miracle. No one on board needed treatment for gunshot wounds. Prosecutors argued the shooters get no credit for that.
Whether they had bad aim or the bus driver's actions, they were still shooting into a SEPTA bus full of passengers.
It really is astonishing. 4 people are now headed to trial. The mother, Penny Chapman, the boy's uncle, Angel LaCourte, and the 2 brothers who prosecutors say opened fire, Karan and Raheen Patterson. The Pattersons are facing attempted murder charges. Chapman and LaCourte, conspiracy, Thomas.
Once again, no one hurt. That is amazing.
I saw a kid I grew up with the other day. He's a bus driver. He was just telling me this story about somebody got on his bus the other day, and he had 2 black eyes, which are the result of being assaulted at a bus stop. And it wasn't just black eyes, right? It was when you break the sockets around your eyes. And so there's a lot of stuff going around these bus stops that might not get reflected in these bus numbers. But the people in Chicago, they, the ABC affiliate in Chicago, they did this we're going to see their big story they did on bus violence in Chicago. And watch how hard they have to work to pretend this is not a black thing.
Tonight, our I-Team reports an unpredictable ride. Some CTA bus drivers under attack by customers, endangering everyone who's on the bus. Investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy here with the story. Chuck.
Alan, CTA bus drivers move millions of customers every year, but sometimes it can be an unpredictable ride. The I-Team uncovers drivers being spit on, zapped with a stun gun, punched and shot at, all while doing their job. Drivers tell the I-Team they want increased security. CTA says safety for employees and customers is its #1 priority, and attacks on operators are rare. Scroll social media, and it's easy to find some of the mayhem CTA bus drivers face.
It was Valentine's Day of 2014. They got on the bus at 73rd and Jeffrey. He grabbed the shield and started shaking on the shield. And I can only take so much because I'm strapped in the seat, and this guy's hitting me at will.
Smith's head injuries kept him out on medical leave for 6 months.
I had contusions back here. I had huge knots back here.
Chicago police arrested these 2 men on charges of assaulting a transit employee. When Smith returned to work, he said he asked to be moved off Southside routes, but was not immediately switched.
They really weren't supportive of me as an operator.
Cynthia Covington says she also asked for a new route after being jumped by a female passenger, missing months of work.
So they sent me back to that same street that day, and the first person that got on my bus was the same young lady. I was terrified.
Through a Freedom of Information Act request, the I-Team obtained this list of assaults where drivers needed medical treatment the past 5 years. Dozens of drivers were spit on. Some were choked, others punched, hit in the eye with an egg, beaten with a bag of frozen chicken, maced, had hot coffee thrown on them, bit, even shot with paintballs and real bullets. Chicago police say this passenger attacked a woman and then the driver of this bus and was then shot by officers.
Safety is our #1 priority for every employee and every customer.
CTA officials say crime against CTA employees has declined the past 5 years.
It's actually down 40% from 2012, and we think that is because of the number of procedures or changes we put into place. We now have shields on every single bus. There's also an emergency communication system that notifies our control center right away.
Renee Murphy recalls 2 attacks, the most recent one a month ago. She says the panic button did not work when she was assaulted the first time.
Police supposed to arrive, no one arrived. I pushed the panic button again, no one arrived. Eventually, I got so scared, I just ran off the bus, used my cell phone to call CPD.
Smith claims nobody responded to his panic call either, that police told him officers monitoring one of the neighborhood cameras noticed people rushing off his bus. CTA says those incidents happened before it upgraded its communication system in 2015.
We have no record ever of our panic buttons failing.
Transit union officials say they have major concerns about members' safety.
They don't understand the communities that we drive through. We do have a City of Chicago Police Department transit detail. I want to see more of that in certain areas.
Our operators have been trained to just stay in the seat and accept abuse.
CTA officials say there is training on how to handle extreme situations and that onboard security cameras help the state's attorney prosecute.
We want to support our operators through any incident that they have.
Bus drivers tell us they deserve more security.
We need security aboard the buses.
I want to go home the way I come to work every day. I don't feel safe.
All of the drivers we spoke with say they have each suffered a physical attack and many verbal ones, but didn't always report them. CTA says the past 5 years there was an average of 1 reported assault for every 187,000 trips, and that they push for the strongest felony penalties for those who harm drivers.
So you saw those 2 bus drivers in Chicago saying they wanted to get their routes changed. So what the real version of that is, they were saying, listen, I don't want to drive a bus in a black neighborhood anymore. Well, the way these systems work is, of course, seniority. And the very first thing you do when you get up a little bit of seniority in the bus company is you get the hell out of the black neighborhoods and you try to work in the white neighborhoods where this stuff doesn't happen. I tell you what, if somebody out there wants to do a YouTube channel, do it on black violence on buses, on drivers, on passengers, on people waiting to get on the bus, people waiting to get off the bus. And it would just involve putting in, just kind of like this reporter did, except taking it to the next level. You would put in Freedom of Information Act requests, not only for information, but for the actual videos. I mean, we had that story up in Albany last year. Remember the hoax? 3 black women get off a bus, and immediately they call 911. They said 20 black people just beat the hell out of them and called them racial names. And it took a couple weeks for the bus company to release the videos. I mean, they had like 10 cameras on this one bus. So we had 10 views of the same thing. The black people were attacking the white people on the bus. They get off and they call 911 saying they just were attacked by a bunch of white people. So much material out there on buses. So much black violence, black mob violence, ruining public spaces. Oh yes, a bus is a public space, by the way. So few reporters have what it takes to even nod or wink or talk about it on any level, because in Chicago, maybe more than any other place in the country, they're just not going to make the black kids angry.